MeMonster.
Chapter 321. I reached out to Boss. My rough hand touched her cheek, and I felt the softness of her skin against my calluses. Seeing the calluses I got from cocking the crossbow, a wave of bitterness rose within me. I had become more accustomed to this world than I realized. With that, the urge inside me faded, replaced by a strange sense of heaviness. But this time Boss moved. Her cold yet warm hand grasped mine, steadying it. We looked at each other, our hands joined. Neither of us spoke, and a strange atmosphere surrounded us. I slowly leaned closer, close enough to touch her completely. My heart pounded loudly. I could also hear another heartbeat that wasn't mine. Was she just as nervous as I was? I felt a mix of embarrassment and happiness. Just as our breaths mingled and our lips were about to meet, the romantic mood vanished. We both widened our eyes in surprise. Go! I swallowed hard and glanced at the corner of the tent. Hajin was sprawled out, taking up space for 2 people. Only then did I realize how close Boss and I were. I scooted away with a bitter smile. Boss remained expressionless, but she glared at Hajin with a hint of annoyance. "I'm tired," I announced loudly, and lay down. I stretched out my arms and stared at the ceiling of the tent. My heart was still racing, and a smile lingered on my face. Nothing had really happened, but I was in a good mood. I decided to fall asleep while this feeling lasted. With the end not far away, I wanted to savor every moment. I closed my eyes, but soon after I felt something pressing down on my arm. I opened my eyes curiously and saw Boss's head resting on my arm. She was using it as a pillow. I couldn't tell if she was really asleep or just pretending. Regardless, I turned back to the ceiling with a smirk. It was a bit uncomfortable, but I didn't mind. Boss's head was so small that it was barely heavy anyway. After climbing past the second peak, Lokio, we arrived at the third peak, Kilata. Kilata was a jungle. All sorts of threats filled the mountain. Giant mosquitoes, elemental snakes, crimson monkeys, king alligators, quicksand swamps, and magic-eating plants. But with Boss's strength and my eyesight, the hellish mountain was manageable. I found out that Boss hadn't lost much of her strength because her background was set as an assassin. Kilata really is more difficult than the previous mountains. It's worse than I imagined, Hajin murmured. We were currently at the midpoint of the mountain. It had taken us 5 days to reach the 3,500-meter mark. In comparison, Plorian and Lokio had only taken us 2 and 4 days to climb, respectively. Just finding a place to sleep is annoying here. Kilata didn't have caves, and with so many monsters, sleeping on the ground was impossible. We had to sleep in the sky or not sleep at all. As my stats recovered over the past week, I could build a shack with my eyes closed. With plenty of wood around, I easily built tree houses using a bit of Stigma's magic power. I've seen it multiple times, but your craftsmanship really is inhuman, Hajin muttered as she looked around the shack I built. I laughed inwardly. This was my best work yet. I'm a descendant of the dwarves. Dwarves? Yep, I'm not kidding. Hajin blinked in a daze. I couldn't tell if she was in disbelief or just trying to process what she'd heard, but it seems she knew about dwarves. Whish! At that moment, Boss arrived with a strong gust of wind. She was in charge of procuring food and returned with bird meat and berries in her hands. Do these look edible? Yep. According to observation and reading, the bird meat was a delicacy called liquor, and the berries were simply labeled delicious tropical fruit. I seasoned the bird meat and started a campfire. Once the fire was going, I skewered the meat and set it over the flames. 6 skewers finished in the blink of an eye. I gave 2 to each person and presented the berries as dessert. We finished the meal in just 15 minutes. It's getting dark. Darkness fell early in the swampland. Although it was only 5 in the afternoon, we were already enveloped in darkness. Thanks for the meal. Should we rest a bit now? Hajin leaned against the wooden wall, rubbing her belly. Sure. I spread out bedding made from soft leaves I found in the jungle. Hajin lay down immediately, I lay across from her, and Boss lay down next to me. Boss then turned to me and stared fixedly as if asking to use my arm as a pillow again. You guys. But Hajin suddenly spoke up. Boss and I flinched instinctively. What's up? You said you believed the devils exist, right? Hajin sounded serious, so I listened carefully. I could tell instinctively that this was important. Yes. Then do you remember the incident from a month ago? Incident? The Lauren noble clan was destroyed for committing treason. You know, for spreading the rumor that the prince was an incarnation of a devil? This was the first I had heard of it, but I nodded. Yes, I have. It's hard not to have heard anything. Hajin paused and let out a deep sigh. It's not a lie, she continued, more serious than before. Arenheim's prince, Chris Bell, houses the devil Baal in his body. I listened quietly and reflected on her words. Then something caught my attention. Arenheim's prince, Chris Bell, Baal's incarnation. Chris Bell and Baal. Chris, Bell, L, Bell, Bell. I turned to Boss, eyes wide. Boss seemed to realize something too, her expression shocked. Arenheim's palace, Arun. The Arenheim kingdom was a major superpower on the continent, along with the Republic of Leoris. Although it had a strict caste system, it also had the common promotion system, allowing talented commoners to rise in status. Some called it the kingdom where the shackles of slaves were the most beautiful. Jinsayuk stepped into the heart of Arenheim, the palace Arun. She walked through the ostentatious halls and reached the most decorated place in the kingdom, the king's quarters. This is your past? Jewels and ornaments adorned the room. Selling just the king's quarters could buy a castle. Foolish and arrogant, Jinsayuk muttered as she looked around. Although she couldn't protect her country as a king, she had never indulged in luxury.
Yup, this is me, Bell answered, sitting on the corner of his bed. His outfit was different from what he wore on Earth. He wore a gold-embroidered gown, enchanted bracelets, and rings. Bell called them the greatest treasures in the kingdom. Royalty from a ruined world and the incarnation of Baal. That's who I am. A bit complicated, right? Jinsayuk stared at Bell and sighed heavily. So, I have to kill you here? No, not yet. Bell shook his head. But looking forward to his death, he smiled. There are 2 months left, so you don't have to rush. Baal will descend the moment you kill me. I'm sure you need time to prepare. Jinsayuk looked around again. Though the room was filled with treasures, none looked used. She turned to Bell once more. I'm curious about something.
Oh, go ahead. I'm about to die. As long as I don't have to repeat the past, I can answer any question you have. Bell truly looked relieved. Jinsayuk asked quietly, How did you become Baal's incarnation? Bell's face stiffened, but his smile soon returned. There was someone I wanted to see one more time, even if I had to sell my soul to a devil. Sell your soul? Jinsayuk frowned. Yeah, humans all have something they want. For you, it would be returning in time. Jinsayuk's eyes widened. Returning in time was a phenomenon that transcended miracles. To go back while keeping one's memories, the only person to have done that was Earth's Shin Myung-cho. Returning in time? That's right. I'm a returner. In exchange for going back in time once, I gave my soul to Baal. Jinsayuk found it hard to understand. He furrowed his brows and glared at Bell. Meeting her gaze, Bell smiled thinly. Just then, jeek! The door opened and another man walked in. So, you're Jinsayuk. Jinsayuk turned toward the voice. Standing there was a man with a sharp expression. She knew he had to be Yi Yeonjun. That's right. And you're what? His boyfriend? Jinsayuk smirked and pointed at Bell. Yi Yeonjun frowned, and unlike himself, Bell shot up, flustered. No, of course not. That's not even funny. Bell pulled on Jinsayuk's shoulder. Until then, Yi Yeonjun kept glaring at Jinsayuk, and she glared back. Calm down, both of you. This meeting is so we can peacefully discuss how to achieve what each of us wants. Bell seated Yi Yeonjun and Jinsayuk and began something like a meeting. At the same time, in the house of a noble family called Pritten, located some distance from Arunheim's capital, Shin Jong-hak and Chae Na-yun were together. So this Lauren clan spread the false rumor that the prince was a devil. Yes, now you understand. Seeing that Chae Na-yun finally understood, Shin Jong-hak clapped and nodded. In this world, Shin Jong-hak was the successor of the Pritten clan, and Chae Na-yun was his knight. But why would the Lauren clan spread such a rumor? It's obvious what would happen to them. Shin Jong-hak answered confidently. Probably because they were housing a devil. They were about to be found out, so they spread that rumor in a futile attempt to draw attention away from themselves. Our clan received orders to kill the devil that escaped from their clan. Our clan? Really? Who cares? It's nice being a noble, Shin Jong-hak grinned. Chae Na-yun made a vomiting gesture, then asked, So we have to catch the devil that escaped. Right, catching and killing that devil is the first trial of the demon reel gate. It's surprisingly simple. Although they were far from the truth, Chae Na-yun and Shin Jong-hak looked at each other seriously and nodded. From a third-party perspective, their analysis was truly cute. All right, well, now that I know the ultimate goal, I'm going to go train. Oh, okay. How much power have you recovered? Shin Jong-hak grabbed Chae Na-yun as she was about to leave. He didn't want to let her go. Now that she was a member of his clan, he wanted her to stay with him as long as possible. I'll be back to normal in 1 month, Chae Na-yun answered nonchalantly. Then what's your quest? Recovering my strength is my quest. And the reward? My weapon, Balmung. Why are you asking me all this? Well, because you're my knight. I think you're too into this. Snap out of it. Chae Na-yun got up with a scowl. Shin Jong-hak wanted her to stay, so he asked another question. Wait, have you thought of ways to contact others? How would I do that? This world doesn't even have a phone. But at that moment, Chae Na-yun remembered the 8-star card, Infinite Communication. She wondered if it would work in this world. No, wait, maybe I do have a way. She closed her eyes and focused on sending a telepathic message to the person she was most familiar with, Extra 7. Hey, can you hear me? It's me, Chae Na-yun. Reply if you can hear me. Gulp. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes. Time passed and no answer came. Guess it doesn't work. Chae Na-yun smacked her lips and turned back. Looks like we'll have to go look for them directly. At that moment, Chae Na-yun, is it really you? Extra 7 replied.
Chapter 322, Mount Kilata. We reached the summit of Mount Kilata, about 5,120 meters high. The view at the top was unlike any other mountain. The usual rule that the higher the altitude, the lower the temperature didn't apply here. Because of the magic power phenomena, Kilata maintained a hot, humid jungle climate even at its peak. We have 3 more peaks left, Hajin muttered, looking down at the scenery below. That meant we had to climb 4 more mountains like Kilata before reaching our destination, the Republic. I dragged myself to my feet with a sigh. Should we get going then? Hajin glanced at Boss. Boss nodded, looking off into the distance. Yes, let's go. We started walking again, moving through Kilata's dense forest and swamps, slaying monsters as they appeared. An hour later, the scenery changed. Fog? Hajin said calmly, It looks like Midine's fog drifted down here. Midine? Yes, Midine, also known as the Mountain of Fog. I've heard of its nickname, but I never imagined the fog would be this thick. Hajin bit her lower lip. It's okay. I grabbed Hajin and Boss's hands. Not even fog this thick could stop the 1,000-mile eyes. I could see clearly through it. I have great eyesight. I walked on, holding their hands. Hajin followed awkwardly, and Boss let me lead her without resistance.
As we descended the mountain, I began to think of the fog as more of a blessing than a curse. It blocked not only our view, but also that of the countless monsters living on Kilata. Thanks to the fog, our descent was quick. The fog grew thicker, but it took us less than 3 hours to travel from the peak to the midpoint. It was then. "Hey, can you hear me?" I heard a voice and stopped, shuddering. "It's me, Chae Nayun. If you can hear me, answer me." It was Chae Nayun's voice. She was probably contacting me through her 8-star card. "Hajin?" Boss and Haran looked at me confused as I tried to think of a reply, but it was hard to form sentences in my head. The world's rejective force was probably interfering with the card's communication. I couldn't form long sentences and barely managed to send a short one. "Chae Nayun, is it really you? Kim Hajin? Is there something up ahead?" No. Boss prodded me, and I started walking again. After 3 minutes, I received a reply from Chae Nayun. "Yeah, it's me. You're also inside the gate, right?" I replied as I walked. "Yeah, I'm on my way to the Republic of Leores with the daughter of the Leon clan." Again, it took 3 minutes for her to reply. "What? But she's a devil. Why are you going to Leores? Turn back and bring her here." What is she talking about? I tilted my head in confusion. "Republic of Leores, training room in the basement of the presidential residence." Kim Suho looked at the woman in front of him holding an iron sword. Her posture was flawless, and the magic power surrounding her sword was sharp. Kim Suho couldn't help but be amazed by his student's growth. The president's daughter instantly absorbed everything he taught her like a dry sponge. "You're growing fast." Despite Kim Suho's praise, the president's daughter, Sarah Lane, didn't smile and stayed focused on her training. "Hya!" She swung her sword with all her strength. The magic power from her sword scratched the floor as it rushed toward Kim Suho. But Kim Suho easily sliced it in half. "Your magic power is as hard as steel. You've really achieved a lot considering your magic power was just a breeze when we first began." Without a word, Sarah Lane dashed toward Kim Suho. "Tut, tut!" She covered a distance of 100 meters with a single jump. Sarah Lane slammed her sword down, and Kim Suho blocked her attack. Sparks flew at the point of contact. "Keek, keek. You have a favor to ask of me?" Sarah Lane said as their swords clashed. Kim Suho smiled. His efforts were about to bear fruit. "Are you finally acknowledging me?" "I am not acknowledging anything." Sarah Lane focused her magic power around her arms, increasing her muscle power, but she still couldn't push Kim Suho away. She pushed and pushed, hoping to knock him back, but stopped when she realized it was pointless. "I've just realized that the rumors were wrong." Sarah Lane was known as a prodigy even before meeting Kim Suho. In contrast, Kim Suho was rumored to be incompetent, said to have become sword commander only through connections. "Is that so? Thank you." The reason Sarah Lane asked Kim Suho to teach her was that she saw him as her father's flaw. She planned to embarrass him in a sword fight, kick him out, and appoint someone more fitting as sword commander. But, to her surprise, Kim Suho was nothing like the rumors. He was strong. His sword and magic power were in perfect harmony. Faced with his flawless swordsmanship, Sarah Lane felt the desire to learn from someone for the first time in her life. "No need. So what is this favor that—" "Ah!" At that moment, Kim Suho struck the back of Sarah Lane's foot with his sword. Sarah Lane was thrown into the air. But she had been in this situation hundreds of times before. She did a backflip in midair and escaped from Kim Suho's reach. Her movements were natural, as if she were performing in a circus. Kim Suho looked at Sarah Lane proudly and said, "I've heard there's a clan called Leon in the Northern Kingdom." "Leon?" Sarah Lane loosened her grip on her sword. Kim Suho continued calmly, "Yes, they were falsely accused and exterminated in Ehrenheim." "I know who they are. What about them?" Sarah Lane put her sword back in its sheath.
For someone as obsessed with swords as her to voluntarily withdraw her sword, Kim Suho knew this was not a good sign. I understand what you're trying to say. Sarah Lane shook her head and declared, but no. Tack. She snapped her fingers. The door opened, and a crowd of knights entered. They were Sarah Lane's personal bodyguards. Surely you're aware of our history with Ehrenheim and all the sacrifices we made to achieve peace. I can't betray my father and the people of this country just to save Leon. With that, Sarah Lane left the training room. The knights hurried after her. Sword Commander. Suddenly, a knight in black armor and cape, Lakendal, Sarah Lane's highest-ranking bodyguard, turned to Kim Suho. His gaze was full of animosity. Don't be so proud. Of course. Kim Suho shrugged. Lakendal glared at him a moment longer before leaving. Soon after, Eileen entered with Kim Suho's clothes and a towel. Ah, thank you. Why are they so rude to you? Want me to beat them up? Kim Suho smiled at Eileen's suggestion. Please calm down. Your abilities haven't fully recovered yet. Still, she said she'd grant you a favor, but when you actually ask, she doesn't listen. What's with that? She doesn't have a choice. I get it. What's at stake is her country, after all. As Kim Suho and Eileen continued talking, suddenly, "Hey, Kim Suho!" Kim Suho heard a desperate voice. Anyone could tell it was Chain Ayun. Kim Suho listened, confused.
It's me, Chen Ayun. Kim Hajin's in this world too. Where are you? Answer me. Ah, this is her 8-star card. Kim Suho smiled as he realized. Answer. How do I reply again? He closed his eyes and focused. I'm at the Republic of Leoris. 3 minutes later, he heard Chain Ayun's voice again. Thank God. Kim Hajin's on his way to Leoris with Leon right now. You have to meet them. Kim Hajin is coming here with Leon's devil hunter. Kim Suho's eyes widened. Ah, this is Serenshi? He quickly wiped his sweat with the towel and darted out of the training room. 500 meters above sea level, the entrance to Mount Mirine. We escaped Kilata and were now climbing Mirine, the mountain of fog. The magic fog grew thicker with each step, and even I couldn't see what was ahead. With my gaze fixed forward, I asked, Harinshi, what should we look out for on this mountain? We need to look out for people. People? Yes. Harin nodded seriously. She had already confessed her true identity, that she was Harin, the eldest daughter of the Leon clan, when she told us about Crispel. Mount Mirine is special because of the magic fog. The fog blocks climbers' view and increases the density of magic power in the air. This makes Mirine perfect for training, Harin explained, as she walked beside me. For that reason, this place is crawling with reclusive experts, martial artists seeking strength, and criminals on the run from the kingdom. Her explanation made sense. This mountain was similar to the Himalayas in my setting. I understand. For now, let's keep moving until we find a place to rest. I walked cautiously. The farthest I could see was 100 meters ahead. Suddenly, a huge rock appeared in front of us. The oddly shaped rock was about 30 meters tall, blocking our path completely. Beyond it was a cliff. I stopped Boss and Harin. I think I'm lost. Huh? You, Kim Hajin? Boss seemed surprised, but I admitted my mistake quickly. Yes, this fog is too thick even for me. There's a rock up ahead. It was then, shwa! Suddenly, magic power poured out from the rock, and the fog disappeared from the area around it. Now we could see the mountain view clearly. At the same time, we heard a heavy voice. Who are you? The voice was full of magic power. I looked up at the top of the rock. There, a woman sat cross-legged, hands on her knees. I asked you a question, you dimwit. Answer me. Her long hair was messy, and her coat was completely worn out, but the magic power she emitted was overwhelming. Her voice was wrapped in magic power. I noticed Harin had frozen. Harin whispered in a daze, Shimurin.
Hmm? Look at you. So you've heard of me, huh? Gulp. Hajin swallowed hard and replied, There's not a person in this world who doesn't know you. Well, I guess that makes sense. With a smirk, the woman stood up. Even considering I was looking up at her, she was quite tall. That's Shimurin, the Grand Magician. Grand Magician? Yes, she's a magician who used to be active in the kingdom, but she was led astray by her genius and got involved in strange research. What are you whispering about? The Grand Magician Shimurin looked down at us with vicious eyes. Do you really have time to talk? I could swallow you alive right now. At that moment, a system window popped up before me. Quest. Level of difficulty. Highest. Summary. Shimurin is a magician who studies interdimensional migration. Disillusioned with secular society, she took refuge on Mount Mirine. She abhors humans. Goal. Persuade Shimurin to come to the Republic or survive Shimurin. Reward. Your Aether armor. Failure result. Probably death. Level of difficulty. Highest. Failure result. Death. Stunned, I looked at Boss. Her eyes were also wandering through the air. It seemed she had received the same quest. Boss, did you also get a quest? I asked carefully, and I did. It says the level of difficulty is highest. Boss slowly nodded. Arun, the royal palace of Arunheim. VIP room. The dim light from the crescent moon shone down on the darkness below. In the middle of the night, on the terrace where the leaves trembled in the breeze and the owls cried mournfully, Jin Sa-hyuk was in deep thought. She was thinking about Belle, Kim Soo-ho, Kim Hajin, and herself. The end is near. That was what Belle had said. She, however, had no idea what Belle's end would look like. She couldn't even say with confidence that Belle would keep his promise. All the uncertainties left her confused, but they weren't what concerned her the most at the moment. Kim Hajin. Belle told her that Kinspring was Kim Hajin, that everything was a mistake born of the distortion of time and space. Jin Sa-hyuk believed this unbelievable fact, as she had already witnessed synchronization with her own eyes. She had seen the emotions Kinspring harbored for her. With a sigh, Jin Sa-hyuk turned her gaze to the endless darkness ahead. A cold breeze disheveled her hair. Her royal beauty shone even in the darkness. Thinking of Kim Hajin, who was imprinted on her mind, and Kinspring, who left a scar in her heart, she came to a decision. If I can go back, if I can return to my kingdom, to the world full of my mistakes, sorrow, pride, agony, love, and regret, I'm bringing you with me. The synchronization rate referred to how much Kim Hajin was one with Kinspring. She was confident the rate would rise drastically if Kim Hajin lived in her kingdom, in their world. With a small sigh, Jin Sa-hyuk looked down at the invitation on the table. Arunheim, Nobles Gathering. It was an invitation to a social gathering that Belle had strongly advised her to attend. She usually loathed the hypocrisy of the nobility. However, I guess I should at least grant his dying wish, Jin Sa-hyuk muttered as she stuffed the invitation in her pocket.
Chapter 323 Mirine Mountain. The Grand Magician brought us to her home. From the outside, it looked like a prehistoric hut, but inside, it was much larger than expected, spacious enough to fit 22 soccer fields. Shimurin locked us in and went outside. Shimurin was famous as Arunheim's Grand Magician, Heron began, explaining Shimurin's background. She became an official magician at 8, a Grand Magician at 18, and reached the highest realm in history at 28. She was called the one closest to the truth. Heron glanced around Shimurin's abode and continued. But 10 years ago, when she turned 30, she left the kingdom and disappeared. Her junior said she wanted to leave this world before vanishing. That's why everyone thought she committed suicide. But in reality, she's been hiding here the whole time. Heron nodded.
I checked the quest summary again. Quest. Level of difficulty, highest. Summary. Shimurin is a magician who studies interdimensional migration. Disillusioned with secular society, she took refuge in Mount Mirenae. She abhors humans. Goal. Persuade Shimurin to come to the Republic or survive Shimurin. Reward. Your Aether armor. Failure result. Probably death. The summary said she was studying dimensional travel. Her coming here was probably related to that. To think Shimurin was in Mount Mirenae this whole time. I'm surprised no one noticed all these years. I'm sure she killed everyone who did. I shrugged, and Heron raised her eyebrows. What do you mean? No one noticed because she killed everyone who saw her. She said it herself when we first met, that she could eat us alive. Heron's face froze, but soon she forced a smile and shook her head. No way! A grand magician would never... Whoosh! At that moment, Shimurin returned with a gust of wind. Heron froze immediately. I stared at Shimurin and saw a book in her hand. According to observation and reading, the book was called Shimurin's Magic Book and contained her research into magic. Suddenly, Shimurin began to murmur a spell. Her magic power seeped into the book, while Boss instinctively used Shadow Barrier, covering just me and herself. Wait, what about me? While Heron muttered in a fluster, I thought about what to do. The answer was clear. The quest window showed what Shimurin wanted. I took a deep breath and shouted, "Are you studying dimensional travel?" Shimurin's expression immediately stiffened. Republic of Laeris, underground prison. Kim Suho was locked up in a prison. After receiving Chain Ion's message, he had rushed to find Serain, throwing open her door. Serain screamed and fell, and the knights guarding her arrested him. Geez, couldn't you have knocked? You were almost executed for attempted assassination, you know. Thanks to Serain, he didn't suffer any harsh treatment. Now Serain stared at him with a dumbfounded look. Kim Suho said from behind bars, "Serain-see, my friend will come here soon with the Lauren clan's eldest daughter. Then we'll let Arenheim Kingdom know that their wanted criminal is in Laeris." Hearing this, Kim Suho clenched his teeth, looking genuinely angry. Serain had to take a step back. I guess I shouldn't have made that joke. Serain let out a dry cough and nodded. Anyway, even if we don't contact Arenheim, we can't let them cross the border. But Kim Suho refused to give up. They will be valuable allies. I know the Lauren clan's eldest daughter is a powerful knight. She could rise to a high position in Laeris. But no, I'm not talking about the Lauren eldest daughter. Pardon? Serain tilted her head in confusion. Kim Suho spoke with trust and faith in a certain someone. My friend, who is bringing the Lauren eldest daughter here, can stop the war by himself. What? You'll know when you see him. Kim Suho knew from experience that bullets were far scarier in war than arrows. Kim Hajin could kill 100 soldiers with a single bullet, enough to overturn any battle. But, lady, don't listen to him. He's only here because of his connections, Lekendal said as he approached Serain. But Kim Suho refused to give up and stared into Serain's eyes. After meeting his gaze for a long time, Serain finally relented. Phew, fine. I will talk to my father and try to deploy a squad secretly, but make sure no one finds out. Otherwise, we'll both be killed. Thank you. There's one more thing. Serain held up her index finger. Even if they arrive safely, we'll test their skills, especially the man you speak of. They'll have to prove they're worth the danger we're putting ourselves in. As for the method, Serain pointed at Lekendal. Lekendal will do it. Hearing this, Lekendal smiled with satisfaction. Kim Suho let out a sigh of relief. Yes, I understand. Let's do that. He looked relieved. He trusted that Kim Hajin would succeed no matter what. Good. Okay, we'll let you out now. Serene eyed Lekendal, and Lekendal promptly opened the cell with a key. Arunheim. A gathering of nobles, the Arun Summit, took place before matters of national emergency. In this long tradition of Arunheim Kingdom, all reputable nobles gathered at the royal palace to discuss. I detested the Republic of Laeris at this time. On this important day, Prince Crisbel was with Jin Sayuk. Jin Sayuk seemed to be thinking with her eyes closed, while Bel continued talking as he stared out the window. Because the Republic killed someone I loved. Jin Sayuk replied, "Didn't you say you went back in time to see this person again?" "Yeah, so I saw her for another 6 years. She died at 20 in the original timeline, but died at 26 in the second. It's almost like death is set by fate. Someone fated to die early will die early and won't live past 30. And someone fated to live late will live past 70 at the earliest. Funny, isn't it?" Bel smiled, but it quickly faded and was replaced by a cold voice. "Anyway, in a month there will be a transnational peace conference in the Republic of Laeris. Representatives from every nation will gather to discuss the spreading demon realm transformation. That's where I summoned Baal." Bel closed his eyes, reminiscing. The peace conference had turned into hell at Baal's descent. After materializing at the heart of the continent, Baal destroyed the world in just 4 days. So I want you to change that future, Sayuk. Release me from that fate with death." Jin Sayuk didn't answer and simply stared at the room's door. She sensed a presence in front of it. Jin Sayuk turned to Bel and asked, "Did you call someone?" "Oh, is he already here?" Bel grinned and stood up. He walked to the door and opened it. Keek! Standing beyond the door was a nicely dressed Shinjong Hak. When Jin Sayuk saw him, she scowled immediately.
Shinjong Hak? Shinjong Hak also noticed Jin Sayuk and instantly put on a similar expression. "What? Crazy woman! Why are you here?" "Prince, this woman might look pretty, but she's a psychopath. I'll hold her back. Please escape." Shinjong Hak said as he looked back and forth between Jin Sayuk and Bel. Meanwhile, Jin Sayuk glared at Bel, not Shinjong Hak, demanding an explanation. Bel shrugged. "Characters mentioned multiple times are bound to appear again." "What nonsense is that?" "Nonsense? You're speaking to the prince. I see you have no manners in this world either," Shinjong Hak muttered, pointing at Jin Sayuk. "What are you saying? Don't you know who this is?" Jin Sayuk pointed at Bel. Hearing this, Shinjong Hak observed Bel closely. He should have seen Bel's face during the Orden assassination mission, but he didn't recognize Bel's changed appearance and went back to glaring at Jin Sayuk. "Shut up!" "All right. Now that Shin Young Chul's grandson is here, why don't we start the real talk?" "What?" In that instant, Shinjong Hak paused. The name Shin Young Chul struck him like cold water. "Wait, you—" Shinjong Hak finally recognized Bel, who put on a peaceful expression. "Take a seat. You're part of the story I'm about to tell." Shinjong Hak frowned, glaring at Bel, refusing to sit. It acted as though that was the last thing he wanted to do. Seeing this, Bel added, "Listen up. This is a story about me and your grandfather. A story about returners." With that, Bel took out a crystal ball and rolled it to Shinjong Hak's seat. Shinjong Hak looked down and stared at the crystal ball. Inside was the face of a young Shin Young Chul. "Mount Mirene. What did you do?" Heron whispered, glancing at Shimurin. Shimurin was leading us somewhere. Heron seemed to wonder what I had done. Let's just say we came to a mutual understanding, I replied with a shrug. Mutual understanding? It's a bit hard to explain. When I mentioned dimensional travel 30 minutes ago, Shimorin chased Boss and Heron away to talk with me alone. First, she asked how she knew about my research. I answered truthfully that I came to this world from another dimension. Shimorin asked for proof. None of the other Earthlings could have given proof, but I could, since I had Stigma's magic power. As a grand magician, Shimorin could sense the inexplicable power in Stigma's magic. I then used Stigma's magic to show a projection of the world I came from. After that, the negotiation was easy. Tell me, what mutual understanding? Damn it, guys! At that moment, Shimorin turned around, cursing. Heron, who was about to ask me something, froze. However, what Shimorin said next made her fear disappear. Do we have to keep walking? Pardon? Heron tilted her head. Shimorin unleashed her magic power, clearly annoyed by all the walking. I'm talking about teleport. Why can't we use something like it? No, we can. Of course we can. Why wouldn't we be able to? Heron nodded fiercely, encouraging Shimorin. I can? Good. Then I'm going to use it. Is that okay? Shimorin turned to me. I nodded, and Shimorin's magic circle immediately enveloped us. Woom. The world twisted, and a floating sensation spread through my body. I closed my eyes, and soon my feet touched the ground. I didn't feel nauseous or in pain. It was a perfect teleportation spell. You can open your eyes, scaredy cats. Everyone opened their eyes. Wow! Awe escaped my lips. The mountain fog was gone, and Leoris's buildings spread out before us, a city resembling modern England. In just 3 seconds, we had crossed several hundred kilometers. Let's see. Hajin, Shimorin said, pointing at me. Huh? Me? Yeah, you. Follow me. We're going to my workshop. You didn't forget our promise, did you? Yeah, sure. By the way, it's Hajin, not HJ. Your name doesn't matter. I just need your magic power. Shimorin began to march forward. Grand Magicianum? What do you mean by workshop? Do you have something like that here? Heron asked, as she chased after Shimorin. Shimorin nodded. Yeah, it's easy to get a fake identity in the Republic. This country doesn't have a damned caste system. She scowled as she said the last line.
Chapter 324. Through teleportation, we arrived at Thanes, a small port city in the Republic of Leors. Shimorin guided us to her workshop. Shimorin's workshop was located near the coast. From the outside, it looked like a huge mansion, resembling a vacation home owned by a millionaire. The mansion stood close to the ocean, and the gentle sea breeze brushed past my ears. This way, Shimorin said. She deactivated some simple security magic and opened the door. We slowly entered the workshop. The inside was just as fancy as the outside. So this is where you've been all these years, in the middle of a city? Harin muttered. With a snicker, Shimorin replied, Just because I'm a magician doesn't mean I have to live in isolation. I only go to Mirene when I need to meditate or gather materials for my research. Shimorin then deactivated her transformation. Because she hadn't showered in a long time, she was filthy and covered in dirt. However, it only took her 3 seconds to become clean again with a simple cleansing spell. Shimorin pointed at me. Hajin, you will follow me to the basement. Boss frowned next to me, but I simply nodded. Hajin, I don't sense any hostility, but be careful. It's hard to figure out what she's thinking. Boss warned. Yeah, I'll be fine. Go rest, boss. Boss hesitated, but I dismissed her concern with a smile and followed Shimorin down to the basement. The basement looked like a more typical workshop. Magic circles were everywhere. On her desk was a mountain of scrolls, and strange plants grew in the corner. So this is where you've been studying dimensional travel? I asked casually. Shimorin suddenly stopped in the center of the workshop and turned around. She was frowning, her gaze sharp as a blade.
Oi. Yes? Her voice was heavy. Overwhelmed by her aura, I instinctively backed away. With a deep frown and piercing glare, Shimarin said, I don't care how you found out about my research. Suddenly, magic power flowed out of her body. Your strange magic power is no proof that you're from another dimension. Anyone can create illusions with magic power. Her enormous magic power pressed down on me. It was a bone-crushing, flesh-ripping pressure. Breathing became difficult, and I felt as if my organs were twisting inside me. The reason I'm still interested in you is this. The pressure vanished, and I collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. I looked up at Shimarin. Her gaze seemed to pierce through me. The pure magic power flowing through that scar on your arm. Her eyes moved to my right arm. Shimarin's magic had ripped my clothes, revealing the stigma. Staring at the scar-like tattoo, Shimarin continued. Truth, origin, essence. Your magic power contains everything. That's why I think your magic power could be the key to my grand magic. As she finished, Shimarin turned on the workshop lights. Under the bright light, I saw a staircase leading deeper below the basement. Shimarin began walking down those stairs. I asked, should I go with you? No. Shimarin stopped and scanned me from head to toe. You are already surrounded by my magic. Rest and I'll summon you when I'm ready. After that somewhat ominous declaration, Shimarin continued her descent. It was then that a bunch of system windows blocked my view. You have completed a high-level quest. You have completed a highest-level quest. Along with the quest completion messages, I received all my equipment at once. Aether, Desert Eagle, the complete set of Black Lotus uniform, and my boxes of bullets, including the God-slaying bullet. I've missed you guys so much. Words couldn't express the joy I felt at that moment. Welcome home, my dear friends. I armed myself with Aether, the Black Lotus uniform, and everything else. Then I sent Chain Ayun a message. Tell Kim Suho that we arrived at the Republic. We're in Thanes. Arenheim, residence of the prince. The late afternoon sky was ablaze with the red of the setting sun. Inside the prince's room, which was so spacious it felt empty, Jin Sayok muttered in a daze. He just left. Yeah, he did. Bell shrugged. He and Jin Sayok were alone in the room. Shin Jong-hak had stomped out as soon as Bell mentioned Shin Mung-chul. Is it okay to let him go? Jin Sayok asked nonchalantly. For someone as arrogant as him to run away without an excuse, Jin Sayok hadn't expected it. It's fine. I thought this might happen, Bell answered. Shin Jong-hak's beliefs and values were based on Shin Mung-chul. Shin Jong-hak would continue to avoid any discussion of Shin Mung-chul, too afraid to doubt his beliefs. I'm curious, can't you just tell me? Jin Sayok muttered. Shin Mung-chul was a legend known by everyone. His fame aroused her interest. Bell gave a small smile. About Shin Mung-chul? Yeah. Shin Mung-chul had accomplished a lot. Recapturing Seoul with Chae Ju-chul, driving Jins out of Korea, establishing the Hero Association, founding Jinsong Group, and saving millions at the cost of his own life. Another name for Shin Mung-chul is one true hero. He was the embodiment of virtue, called the last hope of humanity. He and I were similar. Bell, however, knew everything about Shin Mung-chul, including his past life. Similar? Jin Sayok couldn't understand. How could Bell, whom she knew as trash, be similar to Shin Mung-chul, a hero? Yeah. With a bitter smile, Bell recalled Shin Mung-chul and his first encounter long ago. Bell had warned Shin Mung-chul about the regression stone, that it was cursed, that the ghost of regression Ball would destroy him and his world in return for going back in time. But as everyone knew, love could blind a person.
Shin Mengchel readily sold his soul and his world to the devil for a chance to meet the person he loved again. Yeah? Jin Sayak responded plainly. That's the truth about the legendary hero Shin Mengchel. I'm more interested in Ball. Just what is he? Bell simply replied, he's just a pervert who likes to collect different worlds. What? You know, some people collect books, figurines, things like that. Ball's the same. He collects worlds for pleasure. Jin Sayak felt anger boiling inside her as she listened to Bell. She clenched her teeth. Then, for your information, Ball didn't meddle with your world. Akatrina was a purely self-inflicted downfall. Bell answered Jin Sayak's question before she could even ask. Slightly embarrassed, Jin Sayak let out a dry cough and changed the subject. So, what's the Demon Hailgate then? This place is just a condition. Condition? Yeah, it's like a contract. A great force requires an equally great restraint, like Newton's third law. Ball's existence transcended reality. For Ball to descend, he had to go through a proper process. The Demon Hailgate is not an ordeal given to men by Ball. Ball chose the Demon Hailgate as the solution.
It's an ordeal Baal placed on himself to descend. To reenact the first world he descended into in the form of the Demon Realm Gate, and use that as a medium to transfer himself to another dimension. This was Baal's method to descend to Earth. So if you can stop Baal in this world, Baal won't be able to descend to Earth. Jin Sayuk didn't say a word. She stared at Bell in silence. Bell stared back. Their staring contest lasted for quite a while. Downtown Thanes. I went downtown with Hajin and Boss. The ocean breeze blew gently in the bustling harbor city. We toured the area, enjoying food vendors and shops. There was something refreshing about seeing a world I didn't create myself. Hajin, while I was examining scrolls at a magic shop, Boss called me. Yes? Look at that. Boss pointed at a stall. Stuffed dolls, starting from just 8 shillings. It was a shop selling dolls. Boss was looking at a stuffed bear in particular. Do you like bears, Boss? I guess that explains why you like that bear helmet so much. No, I wouldn't say that. Do you have money? She asked like a delinquent. Yes, I do. With a grin, I handed her a gold coin. It was part of the money I got for escorting Hajin. Thanks. Boss walked up to the stall and picked up the stuffed bear, but not one was enough. She picked up a stuffed cat with her other hand. I watched her with a smile, then turned my gaze to another stall. It was then, what? Robed men suddenly appeared and surrounded me. Their bodies were huge, as though they wore full armor under their robes, and each had a sharp sword at their belt. The assassins from Arenheim are already here? Who are you? Boss quickly returned, emanating her magic power. I also took out the Desert Eagle. At that moment, the man who seemed to be the leader spoke in a respectful tone. Kim Hajin Shi, correct. We've come to pick you up under the order of Sword Commander Kim Suho. Republic of Leoris, basement of Serane's mansion. Serane received a message from Kim Suho that Hajin and her companions had arrived in Thanes. She was surprised they entered the Republic without being noticed by border guards, but she ordered her knights to summon them. According to our investigation, he is an F-rank sharpshooter from Lorenzio Ducci. What? The Republic's investigation only showed that the man praised by the sword commander was an F-rank sharpshooter. There's no way. Perhaps he's hiding his strength on purpose? Potentially. He is a rookie who only joined the army 1 year ago. Serane fell silent and turned to look at the man inside the glass prison. He didn't seem to realize he was in a cell, yawning nonchalantly in his chair. What about the others? We've confirmed the identity of Lauren Clan's daughter, but the other one cannot be identified. There's no record of her whatsoever. Serane furrowed her brows and rubbed her chin. An F-rank sharpshooter stopping the war by himself? It was the funniest joke she'd heard.
She didn't believe he was hiding his strength either. He looked dumb, and she couldn't sense any magic power from him. All powerful beings leak magic power. Not even Kim Soo-ho could prevent it. Does Likendall really need to test him? Did Sword Commander lie? As Serain was judging Kim Hajin, "Gwang!" The basement door burst open, and a knight shouted urgently, "Lady, a monster pathway has opened in the capital!" "What?" Serain immediately scowled. The knights guarding Kim Hajin ran out, leaving Serain staring at him. "He looks like an ordinary F-rank soldier no matter how much I observe him. It would be fine to leave him here alone, right? No, but what if Father finds out?" Kung, kung, kung. Yeah! At that moment, the man inside the glass prison began to knock on the glass wall. "Geez, I surprised me. What is it?" Serain jumped in surprise and then realized the man was saying something. "Huh?" She walked up to the wall with a frown. Seeing his mouth up close, she could make out what he was saying. "If they're ordinary monsters, no matter how many there are, I can take care of them alone." He's saying? Just as Serain murmured, the man held up a strange machine. It was the Desert Eagle, which looked like a lump of metal to Serain. "What's that?" Serain asked. Kim Hajin grinned and replied, "A weapon specialized for slaughter." "Slaughter?" Gwang! A loud ringing sound echoed. An artificial earthquake erupted and a large hole appeared in the ground. Krah! Strange noises rang out from the hole, a mix of monsters' cries. It had been a long time since a monster pathway appeared so close to the capital. Serain clenched her teeth and drew her sword. She looked at Kim Hajin. He looked at her like an innocent child, knocking on the glass wall. When their eyes met, Kim Hajin spoke. "Let me out!" He looked too relaxed. Krah! The cries of monsters grew louder. Kung, kung, kung. And the man inside the glass prison urged her continuously. "Just let me out, I'll take care of them for you." Reading his lips, Serain frowned. If you're so confident, why don't you just break out?" Though that's what she said, she pressed the button to open the prison. Whoosh! The door of the glass prison opened. The man walked out leisurely. Staring at Serain, he muttered arrogantly, "I don't want to be charged for destruction of property." And at that moment, Grah! Demonic monsters shot up from the hole in the ground.
Chapter 325. Lior's Sword Institution. Commander's Office. Kim Soo-ho paced back and forth in his office. As soon as he heard from Che Na-yun about Kim Hajin's arrival, he informed Serain. Still, he couldn't shake his worry about Serain's declaration that she would test Kim Hajin's skills. "Why are you so worried? Kim Hajin knows how to take care of himself," Eileen said, slouching in a chair in the corner and yawning. Kim Soo-ho awkwardly scratched the back of his neck and sat down. "Will he be okay?" "How should I know? But as we all know, he's not a kid." Eileen stretched again. "By the way, I found more people." Kim Soo-ho's eyes widened. With a smirk, Eileen continued. "Yep, 3 more. Rachel, Yu En-ha, and Yi Ji-yun." "Wow!" Kim Soo-ho exclaimed in surprise. But then he remembered her, and his heart sank. Yun Sung-ah. He knew she had also been dragged into this world. Where was she now? The 3 of them are running a business together in a local city. A business? Yeah. Kim Soo-ho tilted his head in confusion. Eileen handed him a crumpled piece of paper, a document outlining Yu En-ha, Rachel, and Yi Ji-yun's current status. Kim Soo-ho read the document in silence. As Eileen said, Yu En-ha was indeed running a business in this world. She was a daughter of a merchant, her family running local businesses for generations. Rachel was Yu En-ha's maid, and Yi Ji-yun was a local aristocrat. Looks like they've joined hands. Apparently, they're making tons of money. It's hardly surprising. Yu En-ha is the kind of person to thrive anywhere. She'd even survive being dumped on an uninhabited island. Kim Soo-ho put the document down with a smile. Yu En-ha had settled in a lekor,
a provincial metropolis. I should pay her a visit as soon as I finish taking care of the current matter regarding Kim Hajin, Kim Soo-ho thought. It was then. "Emergency! Emergency! It's a monster pathway!" The siren wailed through the office speakers. Kong, kong. Kim Soo-ho immediately rose and ran out of the office. Eileen sighed, stretched, and yawned once more before chasing after him. The basement of Serene's mansion. Serene couldn't believe her eyes, even as she stood in the middle of the chaos. Quah! A gigantic hole had opened in the ground, and monsters poured through it. But even more unbelievable was the man extinguishing the monsters. The man aimed a strange-looking machine at the monsters. His shooting seemed wild, but every shot knocked out a monster with stunning precision. There was no exception. Monsters struck by the bullets died instantly, their heads and hearts exploding. Every bullet was more powerful than Serene at her best. "Wow, this is endless," Kim Hajin muttered with a chuckle. Was it because he hadn't shot in a while? Excitement and thrill made his heart race. But he knew he shouldn't waste bullets. This wasn't Earth, and bullets were limited. So he took out a grenade he'd ordered from Essential Armory, made using dimensional entropy. He'd upgraded it with Bomber, the trait he earned from the Tower of Wish, his gift Random Consolidation, and a streak of Stigma. The grenade was only as big as a baseball, but its impact would exceed most bombs. Roll. Kim Hajin threw the grenade into the hole. He turned to Serene. "Excuse me, Serene-see. Do you have a rooftop?" "Rooftop?" Still dazed, Serene swallowed and asked back. "Yes. There's more of them outside, right? I want to go to the rooftop and shoot all of them." "There is." That was enough confirmation for Kim Hajin. He surrounded himself with Aether. Aether and parkour increased his physical abilities. "I'll go on ahead." He stepped on the walls and quickly climbed to the rooftop like a spider. "That's a lot." He looked down from the windy rooftop. Monsters that escaped were causing chaos in the city streets. He sighed and grabbed the machine gun. With 1,000-mile eyes, he estimated about 20,000 monsters. He needed to kill at least 30 monsters with one bullet. Will it work? His gift's power had been reduced, so he doubted the bullet's speed and accuracy, but these were just monsters. He mounted the Desert Eagle on his shoulder, aimed at multiple targets, calculated the bullet trajectories, and pulled the trigger. From the rooftop, bullets rained down. 2 hours later, Lior's Sword Institution. I went down to the basement with Heron. Serene, Kim Soo-ho, and several kites were waiting. "Hello." Heron greeted. Serene looked at Heron in silence. Only when Kim Soo-ho signaled her did she finally nod. "Yes, nice to meet you, Lord." Serene stopped mid-sentence. No one here was supposed to know Heron was a member of the Leong clan. The Leongs had been officially annihilated. "Heron-see." "Thanks for taking me in, Gord Serene." Heron wasn't offended. In fact, she could bow to Serene for saving her life. "Yes, and..." Serene turned to me. Her gaze was completely different from the way we first met. But she turned to Kim Soo-ho without saying a word to me. Serene stared at Kim Soo-ho for a while before finally speaking. "Seems like everything you say is true, Commander." Kim Soo-ho's expression brightened. His lips twitched, and unable to contain his joy, he covered his mouth before bursting into laughter. "Ha ha ha! Didn't I say so? So how was my friend?" Serene sighed, and took out a document. According to the statistics, the number of monsters that came out of the hole were 15,912 low intermediate ranks, 6,534 intermediate ranks, and 301 high ranks. This was nothing short of a grand invasion. Normally, we would have suffered serious losses and spent at least 3 days subjugating the enemies. However, Serene paused and looked at me. I instinctively knew it was time to shrug. We brought everything under control in 2 hours with the help of a mysterious weapon. "A weapon? You mean a person?" Kim Soo-ho quickly corrected her. She shot him a look and nodded. "Sure, with the help of a person." She crossed her arms. She reminded me of Yuenha, except much sloppier and less experienced. The thought made me smile. Excuse me, what are you laughing at? Oh, no, it's nothing.
Anyways, Serene pouted and asked, "How did you do it?"
Anyways, Serene pouted and asked, "How did you do it?" How should I explain? One bullet killed at least 30 monsters. My bullets also serve as guided missiles. As long as the altitude is high enough, I can shoot just about anything. I still have more than 3,000 bullets left. Regardless of the number, if the enemies are weak, I can kill them all with a pull of a finger. I condensed the complicated explanation into a short, accurate sentence. 30 minutes later, I officially reunited with Kim Suho in the Sword Commander's office. Hajin left to speak with Serene, and Boss returned to Shimarin's mansion. We had to keep our relationship hidden, after all. I got this from a quest. Summary of the past and the future to come. The first thing Kim Suho did was hand me a book he received as a quest reward. It contained a summary of this world's past and future. Can you see what's written inside, Hajin? I opened the book, but I saw nothing but blank pages. No, I can't. I guess I'm really the only one who can read it, Kim Suho muttered, skipping to the last page. This book ends with a description about the Transnational Peace Conference, which will be held in a month and a half. Transnational Peace Conference? Yeah, this is the last sentence of the book. A grand calamity descended on the day of the Transnational Peace Conference. A grand calamity descended on the day of the Transnational Peace Conference. I stroked my chin, deep in thought. I'll have to ask the Book of Truth about the conference once my stigma is restored. I think it's clear that something's going to happen at the Transnational Peace Conference, Kim Suho said. I nodded in agreement. I'll look into it later, I replied, then turned to Kim Suho. More importantly, did you find the others? Oh, right. We found Yu Yanhe, Rachel, and Yi Ji-yoon. Really? My lips curved into a smile. I'd been dying to meet them again. Well, maybe not Yi Ji-yoon, but definitely Yu Yanhe and Rachel. Yeah, and they're not far from here. Kim Suho beamed. Yeah? What have they been up to until now? Business. Yu Yanhe already has influence over a local metropolis. Puh, really? I burst into laughter. As expected of Yanhe? Right? Kim Suho asked jokingly, and I nodded. Right. Then, how about we go meet them right now? Kim Suho suggested, putting on a coat. I straightened my clothes and stood up. Good idea. You know the way, right? Yeah, you can count on me. We stood in front of the door together. Kim Suho grabbed the doorknob, but paused as if he remembered something. Oh, before we leave... Suddenly, Kim Suho cast an affectionate look and pulled me by the arm. It's good to see you again. Before I knew it, I was in his arms. They were as big and sturdy as I remembered. What? Oh. So good. Huh? Sure. It's good to see you too. Confined in Kim Suho's arms, I patted him on the back. Tack, tack, tack. 3 times. It was a signal for him to let me go. It seemed Kim Suho misunderstood, though. He squeezed me even harder. Sniff, sniff. As uncomfortable and awkward as it was, I couldn't help but notice he smelt good. Maybe it was a main character trait. Anyway, thanks to his fragrance, the hug wasn't too bad. Thinking that, I waited for Kim Suho to release me.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.